So with the official release of Black Clover Chapter 288 is now out, I feel like it's now properly time to talk about what Asta truly did with his anti-magic demon destroyer sword. In my chapter review, in case you missed it, I did talk about that Asta performed anti-mana zone, but this time I want to go more and properly in depth and have a whole dedicated video about the whole anti-mana zone situation. And also why Asta had anti-mana zone for the longest time and showed signs of anti-mana zone way before this chapter was even out. So as always, before we start, guys, if you're enjoying the Black Clover content on the channel, remember to subscribe with notification bells on and by leaving a huge like on this video. Now, let's get started. Now, before we dive into why Asta has anti-mana zone, we need to talk about and briefly explain the stages to get to mana zone and why Asta has been using this same stage that other mages have been using to get to mana zone as well, but in his own way. And what I mean by stages, not magic stages, but the criteria to get there. So what exactly is the criteria? And the criteria is mana skin. Mana skin comes from the parent magic of reinforcement magic, which allows you to reinforce certain parts of your body, boosting your physical abilities, while mana skin is applying the mana around your whole body, which also increases your physical abilities, your reaction speed, and also magic attacks. It is the perfect and true spell that comes from reinforcement magic that every mage uses to fully increase their whole overall power, to fully cloak their body in mana skin. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, if mana skin is the criteria to get to mana zone, then how does Asta has mana zone, well, anti-mana zone, and he doesn't have mana skin? Well, he does, but he has anti-mana skin. Now, back in episode 132, when we saw Mereoleona took some of the Black Bulls and the rest of the Crimson Lion Kings to the Grand Magic Zone, and underneath is a crazy hot volcano, she was telling everyone that everybody needs mana skin and some sort of protection so they won't get burned, because once that protection is off, they will burn to ashes. And Noelle, she had concern about Asta because Asta, since he has no mana, how will he not burn to ashes? Because this volcano is more crazier than the one that they went to last time during the hot spring arc. Even though this is the same Grand Magic Zone, it's just this time they're more closer and they have to walk inside of it. But Asta showed everyone that since they will be protected by their mana skin, he can do the exact same thing but in his own way by mimicking and creating his own version of anti-mana skin, which left everyone there impressed. Asta was able to freely walk into the volcano to the point where he didn't even need to transform, just being protected by anti-mana skin. This is proof that Asta can do what every other mage can do, but just in his own way. Now, since we talk about the criteria to mana zone, what is mana zone exactly? And how did Asta get to the point of him using anti-mana zone even before this chapter? In chapter 138, it was explained to us that mana zone is the ability to harness the mana that's floating in the surrounding area and to control the territory at will. Within that territory, you can discharge more mana than you personally have from any direction. So when it comes to mana skin, you're using your own mana to protect you, while mana zone, you're using the mana within the area that amplifies all your senses and allows you to move freely within the air. This is why we see mages like Julius that can move so fast to the point where they can teleport using mana zone within the area. Same situation like Dante that allows him to teleport using his gravity magic using mana zone. And even characters like Mereoleona and Yami that allows them to airwalk and just stand on air using mana zone. And mana zone is definitely deeper than this because there's so much context to it. So if you guys want to see a separate mana zone video explained, then I definitely can do that. But the whole point of mana zone is allowing the mage to move freely within the air. At one point, Asta can only fly by transforming because anti-magic hones in on mana. But Asta can do that just by riding his anti-magic swords. And how is he doing that? He is using the mana zone within the area by dominating with his anti-magic. And since anti-magic homes in on mana, and now we know that mana is pretty much the entire environment in the Black Clover story, Asta is changing the trajectory by controlling his anti-magic, which allows him to fly. Asta is able to float and fly by using the zone of mana, by dominating it with his own anti-magic zone. Asta is using the complete opposite of what mages do to move freely by using mana zone. Asta has already achieved anti-mana zone way before chapter 288. And during the time skip of Asta flying on his swords, that's not the only time that he showed little signs of mana zone. Because since we know that mages use mana zone to dominate and control the surrounding area, Asta did this against Zagre's magic. Back in chapter 197, Zagred mentioned that Asta's anti-magic is resonating with his own magic, and it's erasing the magic around him. It's also the equivalent of what Yuno was doing at the exact same time, when Raya mentioned that Yuno in his spirit die form is disintegrating the matter around him. The reason why Yuno is doing this because we found out from Mimosa that Yuno in his spirit die form is also a form of Mana Zone. And there is a lot of characters that can use Mana Zone within the series but don't necessarily say Mana Zone when they use spells. But Yuno, he is a prime example of that. Some spells he don't say Mana Zone while he's still using Mana Zone. And what Asta was doing, he was pretty much doing a version by disintegrating the magic around his area as well, by erasing it just like Yuno. And the crazy thing about it is that he's holding his Demon Destroyer sword, which is stated to be his most sensitive sword when it comes to huge magic. Asta's Demon Destroyer sword gives him that even extra boost of ability to use the anti-mana zone within the area. Despite the sword having a cause and effect ability, which is causality break or fate release depending on the translations, it's more than just a cause and effect spell. And now with Asta in his Devil Union mode, it allows him to use his anti-mana zone even more freely, and I'm going to explain why. Now, when we first seen Asta transform into his Devil Union mode in chapter 282, the biggest questions we had were, what are those anti-magic orbs around him? Are they there for design purposes or are they there for a reason? And with the recent chapter, we find out that they are there for a reason. When Asta was fighting Naamah and Lilith, Naamah was using his Devil Flame magic, trying to get at Asta, trying to destroy him and overwhelm him with the magic, but Asta was cutting through it with ease. Even when Naamah created an entire flame tornado right in front of Asta, which is also a form of Mana Zone, Asta was able to break out of it using Black Hurricane and tried to hit Naamah, but Naamah was able to teleport out of the way. Asta quickly realized that the only way he's able to really reach them is to remove their magic within the area, because with so much of their magic overwhelming the entire area, it will be very hard for Asta to even reach them. Despite the fact that these two are the weakest high-ranking devils that's part of the cleft off tree, they are still a hassle to reach. Asta then calls upon his Demon Destroyer sword, and we see that the anti-magic orbs that are flying around him were all going inside the Demon Destroyer sword, and immediately we see that Naamah and Lilith, their magic is completely erased. This is proof that Asta's Demon Destroyer sword is more than just a cause and effect spell. Just like Zagred, Asta's anti-magic sword was able to dominate and destroy the mana within the surrounding area. And with the help of his anti-magic orbs, this allows him to create his own anti-mana zone in his Devil Union form. It's quite similar to how the ancient demons of the Spade Kingdom, their wings operate. We seen from Mereoleona, she stated that their wings were absorbing the mana within the area. This is why Julius mentioned that the ancient demon is able to repel spells from its existence, very similar to what Asta's anti-magic can do. And this is why Asta was able to defeat the ancient demon, because since Asta has anti-magic, there is no spells to repel. You cannot repel anti-magic. And when we saw the ancient demon that was attacking the Clover Kingdom charge up so much magic ready to destroy it, Asta charges in, destroying it by transforming to his Devil Union mode. And if you notice, the orbs that are surrounding Asta are suppressing and completely erase the surrounding area of that magic attack. So with the events that happen in chapter 288, this makes a lot of sense why those orbs are there. They are suppressing the mana within the area, which also allows Asta to use anti-mana zone. But since we already showed proof that Asta flying is also signs of him using mana zone as well, with anti-mana zone, the potential of Asta's anti-mana zone is endless. It can be very similar to how Yami uses his mana zone when he uses his Black Hole Black Moon spell, which we see him erasing the surrounding area of magic, just like what he did to Dante. But honestly, I would love to see Asta do some mana zone spell with this Demon Dweller sword, very similar to what Lick did by borrowing and absorbing the mana of the elves in the surrounding area, which allowed him to use ultimate sword magic, conquering Eon. An anti-magic version of that spell would be really awesome. Another version of Mana Zone, if you have your finger around the zone of the surrounding area of the subscribe button with notification bells on, you'll see more Black Clover content from me right to your YouTube feed. You guys have an awesome life. Take care of yourselves, stay blessed, and I'm out.